Good afternoon, all. It is Wednesday. It is the 22nd of September, and it means it's your Wednesday football show hosted by Twos. So, what we're going to be looking at today is a little bit of fantasy football. We're going to look at what matches are on over the weekend and see how we go from there. And so, yeah, we're going to have a look at some other leagues as well today. And just see what your opinion is and get some feedback from yourselves as well. Comment below. I want as much participation within this. There was a few good matches last night as well. So I will be starting to go over from last night's cup matches. So we will go over the scores from last night. So I think one of the biggest ones last night was Brentford 7-0 against Oldham. Fantastic score there. Then you had Burnley 4-1 against Rochdale. Fulham match ended up 0-0, but it did end up with 6-5 on penalties. So 6-5 on penalties to Leeds. Man City beat Wickham 6-1. Liverpool beat Norwich 3-0. Preston beat Cheltenham 4-1. Queen's Park Rangers and Everton was also a 2-2 draw, but Queen's Park Rangers went through on penalties 8-7. Now that was a shocker. QPR beating Everton, but So Sheffield United also end up with a 2-2 draw, but Southampton won 4-2 on penalties. Stoke beat Watford 3-1, and Sunderland beat Wigan 2-0. So that was from last night. The cup matches, there will be a roundup. There's some more cup matches tonight as well. I know if you go into the sports group, there will be an update on the Arsenal match from George, because he's actually going to the match tonight. He's going off to watch. He's going to go and support Wimbledon tonight, I think. But you have Brighton and Hove Albion versus Swansea, Arsenal versus Wimbledon, Chelsea versus Aston Villa, Man United versus West Ham. I think that will be quite a good match to follow. Millwall versus Leicester, and then Wolves versus Tottenham. And I also think that one will be a challenging match for Tottenham, if I'm honest. And you've also got a little bit of Scottish League Cup tonight as well. Dundee v St Johnstone and Rangers versus Livingston. So, in respect to that, that is what's happening in tonight's football. Then on a Thursday, you have got Celtic against Raith Rovers and Dundee versus Hibs in the Scottish League Cup. So again, a couple of Scottish matches for on Thursday night, and then moving over to a Friday. We've got some championship matches. We've got a League Two match, and we've got Scottish Championship. So in the Championship on Friday night, you've got Coventry City versus Peterborough, West Brom versus Queen's Park Rangers. League Two, you've got Barrow versus Newport. And in the Scottish Championship, you've got Arbroath versus Kilmarnock. So that's Friday evening's football. I think the Coventry and Peterborough will be quite a good match. And I think the Arbroath versus Kilmarnock will also be a good one to keep an eye on. But that's your Friday night football. And then moving into Saturday, you have got Chelsea versus Man City. I think that will be quite a tough match, if I'm honest. I would like to say Man City will do it, but I don't know. I think Chelsea might come through on that one. Man United versus Aston Villa. Personal opinion, I think Man United will win that one. Everton versus Norwich. Again, I think Everton will do that. Leeds versus West Ham. That one's a hard call. I am actually going to pass that one over for George to comment on, if you see what he thinks on that one. Leeds versus West Ham. Leicester City versus Burnley. I think Leicester City will do that one. Watford versus Newcastle. Again, another hard call. But I do think Newcastle might come through, as much as I do want to nick up about Newcastle losing. But I do think Newcastle will pull that one. And then Brentford versus Liverpool. Well, I think that will be Liverpool, to be fair. And then you've got the Scottish Premiership, which is Dundee versus Rangers. Rangers, I probably would say for that one. Hearts of Midlothian versus Livingston. Hard one to call. I will go for a draw on that one. And Motherwell versus Ross County. I suppose if I didn't say Ross County, I'd probably get shot by one of our admins. So yeah, I'll say Ross County on that one. Then on Sunday, you have Southampton versus Wolverhampton. I'm going to say a draw on that one, to be fair. As much as I would like to see Southampton do it, I do think that one will be a draw. And then Arsenal versus Tottenham. Well, we have two management. One supports Arsenal, one supports Tottenham. I am going to hand that one over to them to battle it out. So that would be George and Leighton. And then back to the Scottish Premiership. St Mirren versus Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen might do that one. Celtic versus Dundee. I think that will probably be Celtic. And Hibs versus St Johnstone. I'm going to call a draw on that one, I think, personally. So that's your Sunday football. And then on Monday, you also have Crystal Palace versus Brighton. I personally think Crystal Palace might do that one, if I'm honest. So that's your roundup of your football for the weekend. So there is quite a bit of football out there. But if you play the fantasy football side of things, and this is where it is going to get quite interesting, because some of the matches could be quite difficult to actually sort of call. So I did contact George yesterday for some advice on this one, and we got back. If you want a cheap option this week, go for either Colin Gallagher from Crystal Palace or Mohamed Anusi from Southampton, because they are looking quite good, but they are also a cheap option. But don't forget who's playing who. So check, because if you've got both teams, players from both teams, for instance, on Saturday, you have got Chelsea v Man City. So if you've got Chelsea players and Man City players, you've got to think about it, because if it's a high-scoring match, you'll be fine. But if it's not, then you could be pushing for less points. But then also captains this week. George's recommendations for captains this week was either Mohamed, Salah or Ronaldo, if you've got them in your team. So that is another idea for it. A roundup of last week's twos league, because we do have a twos league. It was quite interesting, to say the least. So we're going to go and have a look at where people stood at the end of last week. So Abdu, remains in first place. He got 46 points last week, so he wasn't a high scorer, but it kept him up in top. In second, Craig, he went up into second place last week with 66. He had 66 points on game week. Nick remains in third place. He got 60 points last week, so he kept his position. Leighton dropped down to fourth. He only received 47 points last week, so yeah, he's dropped a spot this week. In fifth is myself. I remained in fifth on 59 points, and George remained in sixth. He got 54 points. Brian, he moved up into seventh. He had 66 points, and Hubert dropped to eighth with 53 points. Andy S stayed in ninth. He got 45 points last week. Sarah remained in 10th place, and she received 54 points last week. Natalie moved up into 11th. She received 58 points last week. Brad dropped down to 12th. He received 36 points. Tash P dropped down to 13th. She only received 35 points. Jamie remained in 14th. He received 28 points. Mark B stayed in 15th. He received 44 points. Dana moved up to 16th. She received 40 points. And James is down in 17th. He only received 30 points last week. So there's your points from last week. So I will do a week on week to see where people actually get to on that, because I think that will be quite interesting as well. But that's all I have today. Don't forget, we are on all other platforms as well, and so why not come and follow us or come and see what's going on. We're on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and we do have our own website. So come over and have a look and see what you think. So I will be back tomorrow with the Twos TV show. So for now, goodbye and